This is Barnstable Today for Wednesday, November 19th. Welcome aboard. I'm Mark Mumford.
We are kicking things off today with public comment on the Board of Health's proposed revision to the Saltwater Estuary Protection Ordinance. That's our top story today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kevin Friel.
The hearing yesterday afternoon in Town Hall featured concerns expressed by members of the business community.
First, we hear from Olive Chase, owner of the Casual Gourmet in Centerville.
Hi, my name is Olive Chase. I own the Casual Gourmet. I'm part of the 1.6%. I own a building at 31 Richardson Road in Centerville. I own the Casual Gourmet. It took me years to find a building in this community that I could buy for my business, and when I bought it, it was permitted for a 114-seat restaurant. I am operating a catering business with 24 seats. I can't tell you what it means to me if you decrease the value of my business by telling me that I can't grow, that I can't expand, that I can't add bathrooms if I want to, that I can't add employees, and all of that, and it won't make any difference to the quality of our water. I live in this community. I employ a lot of people. I pay them as well as I can. I give them benefits. It makes me feel like you don't value my business if you would really, for negligible effect, put that kind of restriction on the property that I bought in good faith.
Also chiming in at yesterday's public comment session, Deborah Converse, CEO of the Hyannis Area Chamber of Commerce.
CEO of the Hyannis Area Chamber of Commerce, and we do represent about 670 businesses in the area, many of which are impacted with this potential regulation. We concur that it's important to protect our estuaries. I'm an environmentalist by nature, and I agree that something needs to happen, but because it's a negligible effect on our environment to impose these restrictions on the businesses, the 1.6 as we were told, we believe that holding off on this kind of thing, and I may make myself unpopular among the businesses, but I don't think we have the infrastructure in place yet.
Board of Health Chair Dr. Wayne Miller says the board will digest what they heard yesterday, put it in context with information already gathered, and have a decision at their next meeting on December 9th.
Meanwhile, with underage drinking stings making news lately, the Board of Health is looking to streamline enforcement of underage tobacco sales.
With that in mind, they appointed Patricia Lindauer and Robert Collette as Board of Health agents.
Well, we have there two of us, actually, myself and Patricia Lindauer, who also works for my program, and we typically split the town on the day that we do a compliance check, and
so we'd have to actually
the latest protocol calls for us to go in and notify and give a copy of the compliance check report to the retailer. And we've been doing that for about the past 9 months or a year, and previous to that we just went in and notified them, and there have been a series of protocols that we've used over the years, and I'm just slightly flabbergasted as to why there's another sudden and drastic change, although I'm not completely opposed to it.
The town's Conservation Commission was also in action yesterday.
They heard from Jim Lane of the Red Lily Pond Project Association. The focus is Phragmites.
Economic climate, it doesn't appear that we'll be receiving grants or be able to raise funds to do this understreet culvert for a while. We'll ask for an extension when appropriate. The other location is location D, where we have a long culvert that leads from the Herring Run into the Centerville River, and this is quite a serious outbreak of Phragmites. We have the opportunity to have AmeriCorps, which provides volunteer free labor to cut the Phragmites stalks, and we realize at this time of the year it's ineffective to use any type of drip or wipe because the plants are somewhat dormant. But we propose to bag the seed pods or combs if recommended, and then set aside the stalks for removal. Just to clear the waterways, and also some of the neighbors are concerned that all this dry vegetation is somewhat of a fire hazard.
The Board of Health gave their approval for a cleanup and consultation with staff to begin on December 1st.
Looking ahead, the Town Council is preparing for a busy session tomorrow evening here in Town Hall.
Kevin gets the details in a preview with Barnstable Assistant Town Manager Tom Lynch.
It is going to be a big night for the tax assessor, Mr. Rizziakel. I think there are two items early on the agenda that talk about conservation restrictions and their tax implications when you do that. And he'll be explaining that to council members so they can take a vote on whether they want to have those two restrictions, a continuation of business that was done in the the previous meeting. But the main issues, as you mentioned, will be the tax classification system. In the issue before the council will be, first of all, whether or not they want to maintain the factor of 1 or whether they want a split tax rate, which shifts some of the responsibility between the residential and the business community. I expect there'll be members of the public and members of the business community to testify on this. It doesn't change the amount of money that's raised by the town. That's a set assessment amount. What it does is it decides whether or not there's any shift in the burden of that. And the town, with the exception of 1 year recently, has generally maintained the tax classification of 1, but that's been the major controversy over the years with the split tax rate. The second item they'll also be looking at is a residential exemption. Again, it doesn't change the amount of money raised under the residential tax rate, but what it can do is shift an exemption from those of us who have a primary residence here in Barnstable to those that have a seasonal residence. So there's been a 20% reduction for the residential taxpayer homeowner in the last 3 calendar years, and we'll see whether they adopt that. And then the third one is whether or not there's a small business exemption, and that shifts it between small business owners and some of your larger commercial owners. So it's going to be an interesting evening, and one which always brings out a lot of controversy and thoughtful discussion that the members have to consider.
I noticed that the Barnstable Patriot has already written articles about this, and I'm sure the Cape Cod Times will write some articles about this, so it's always one of the bigger meetings of the year.
Yeah, and it's, and it's appropriate because the council, they set this policy, and they'll listen, I'm sure, to taxpayers as well as to the assessor and make a decision, and then we'll all live with it with the tax rate.
What the council is doing is they're working within the constraints of Massachusetts general law, and so the state has said you can work within these parameters and decide on how you're going to use your tax classification status to raise the money in town.
Right. You have discretion as to whether or not you want to do any shifting between residential and commercial, and there are implications when you do that for the business owner versus the homeowner.
On the weather front tonight, partly cloudy skies and chilly, dipping down into the lower 20s with winds gusting out of the west to 25 miles per hour. Then tomorrow, mostly cloudy with a chance of random snow flurries and highs in the upper 30s, and winds still out of the west at about 10 to 15 miles per hour.
A jam-packed meeting schedule here in town this evening. 3 meetings at 7 o'clock. The Charter Commission will be in the Growth Management Conference Room on the 3rd floor of Town Hall. The ZBA meeting in the hearing room, and the Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission in the School Administration Building.
Tomorrow it's the Town Council, as we mentioned earlier, at 7 o'clock in the hearing room. And just a quick reminder, they continue to look for volunteer van drivers to help out over at the Senior Center.
And they are going to need some additional drivers this coming Wednesday to deliver Thanksgiving meals to homebound seniors. If you're interested in helping out the day before Turkey Day, give Claudia a call at the Senior Center. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Kevin Friel.
We'll meet you right back here tomorrow. I'm Mark Mumford.